If you've been following Arcade1up at all this year, you know that back at CES, they announced this year's version of their Legacy cabs, which they have dubbed Deluxe. Some different changes to the form factor, basically. Riserless, tilted screen, a few other amenities that makes them call these Deluxe. Well, I've also been following some of the Facebook groups, some of the Reddit groups, and things like that, and I'm starting to see pictures show up of the boxes that these deluxe cabs are going to come in. Whether or not they're packed and ready to go, or whether it's just pictures of empty boxes, I have no idea. But we're starting to see the packaging for these deluxe cabs. So that got me thinking that we may wind up actually hearing from Arcade1up on when pre-orders are going to go, when they might ship, maybe within the next few weeks. And again, then that got me thinking, what other cabs could Arcade1up possibly come out with in this deluxe form factor? Now, I've got a list of a few that I think it might be, and I'm going to dive into all of that on this episode of Bill's Retro Gaming Show. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscription button. Click the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I put up a new video. Give this one a thumbs up and leave a comment below if you want to be part of the conversation. So, like I said, this video is going to focus on the deluxe cabs from Arcade1up and what other ones I think they might come out with, whether it's this year or next year, sometime in the near future. But I've got a few ideas on ones that I think for sure we will see, and then a few that might happen, and I just wanted to go over my list and see what you guys think. But let's start off by going to the website and just taking a look at what the deluxe cabs are and what makes them deluxe. All right, so here we are on the Arcade1up website, and this is their Pac-Man Deluxe arcade game. And as you can see here, there are a few differences, obviously, from what they've had in the past. You look at this, and there's no riser to it. You look at that screen, and that screen is at a slant compared to the more upright screens that we've seen from them in the past. You have the molded coin door, which is something that they've been doing for a while now, but seems to be standard on these newer cabs coming from them. So it's things of that nature that have described these as deluxe. Wi-Fi, different things like that. So again, some things from the past, some new things from the future. Really, deluxe, let's just call it what it is. Deluxe is just a branding for this. Last year it was Legacy, this year it's Deluxe. They basically mean the same thing, it's just a slightly different form factor. But this appears to be a form factor that they want to continue to explore and produce more cabs to look similar to this. And me, personally, I'm kind of in favor of this. I like this. I like that they're just edging closer and closer to looking more and more like a real arcade form factor, which as a collector is something that I know a lot of people are interested in. So we know we're getting from them, we know we're getting a Pac-Man, we know we're getting a Ms. Pac-Man Galaga Class of 81 version, we know we're getting Mortal Kombat. But what other ones could possibly come out? Well, there are a few other legacy cabs that they've released in the last few years that I think could possibly get the deluxe treatment. And let's start with one of the ones that I think is the most obvious. All right, so this is the Atari Legacy. This is the Tempest Edition version that came out a couple of years ago. Now, they did release an Atari Legacy last year that was themed after Centipede. Now, based on the look and feel of the deluxe cabs that they have shown so far, I'm thinking that they are not going to release the next versions, the deluxe cabs, to look the same as the ones from last year. So I'm thinking we're probably not, if we're going to get a deluxe version of an Atari Legacy, it's most likely not going to be Centipede. Now, it could be Asteroids. That's a likely one because they haven't produced an Asteroid in a couple of years. But I feel like the Tempest one was really well known. I think that people liked it. They liked the way that this looked. I know I did. I own this one, and I'm very pleased with the way that it looks. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if they're going to do an Atari Deluxe, that they may skin it to look like Tempest. Now, personally, I would love to see them go in a completely different direction and possibly do something they haven't done before, like Missile Command. We have not gotten one that's themed after Missile Command from them yet, and I think that would be a great one. And I think it would also solve a problem that they've had over the last couple of years with these Atari Legacies, where people have complained that you've got a marquee title that traditionally has a vertical screen on it, but you've put a horizontal screen into this. Now, granted, the majority of the games that come on the Legacy cab, on the Atari Legacy, take advantage of a horizontal screen. So it does make sense. However, when you're looking at the marquee title, it just, something always feels a little off about it, which is why I would love to see them do Missile Command in a deluxe version of the Atari Legacy. But whether they do Missile Command, whether they do Tempest, or whether they go back to one they've done before like Asteroids, I think at some point we will see an Atari Legacy in a deluxe version. Now, it could be later this year. It could be announced at CES next year. You know, there's this thought process, or at least in my head, there's a thought process that they might do these in, you know, bi-yearly instead of every single year. So maybe the Legacy for Centipede will continue on for this year, and they'll skip a year and go deluxe next year. But that could be, and that could be true for any of these that I'm going to talk about, by the way. But I just wanted to throw these out here as a possibility. That's something we might see either this year or early next year in that deluxe form factor. All right, the next one I think that is probably pretty obvious is a Capcom Legacy. Now, we're getting a Mortal Kombat Legacy from them in this deluxe version that's themed after Mortal Kombat 2. Now, again, going back to what I said about the Atari one, last year with Mortal Kombat 30th, it was themed after the original Mortal Kombat. This year's is going to be based on Mortal Kombat 2. So my thought here with the Street Fighter is that rather than do what they did last year, which is a more specialized skin with the Yoga Flame or the Shinko Hadoken that they did, maybe they go back to one from a couple of years ago and redo that in the deluxe. And this is the Street Fighter 2. This was the Capcom Legacy from a couple of years ago. Same year, I believe, as the Tempest one. So my thought process is that they go back and they do a deluxe version that looks similar to this one. Now, let's face it, the Capcom Legacies always seem to be skinned after Street Fighter, and Street Fighter cabs traditionally not the most colorful, attractive, whatever. You've typically got a really cool looking marquee and very, very minimal side art like you see here. If you look at this one, if you look at Champion Edition, even if you look at Big Blue, very, very minimal side art, which is, I think, one of the reasons why they decided to do the Yoga Flame Shingo Hadouken ones last year and kind of spice it up a little bit. But I know for the arcade purists, they would rather see something that looks a little bit more like the traditional arcade machine. And if you're going to do these deluxes and hedge closer to what the arcade looks like, then it makes a little more sense to go back to something a little more traditional like this. So, and I don't think they're going to re-release Big Blue in deluxe, because Big Blue, to me, if you're going to redo a Big Blue, that should be an XL or a Pro. Save that for XL or Pro. Don't do Big Blue as deluxe. Go back to one of these Capcom Legacies and do it like this. Now, my guess is if they do this, you know, it may or may not have the same games list as last year's with the Yoga Flame Shinko Hadouken ones. They may change it up, because they changed that one up pretty significantly from this one from year to year. Although, again, the Mortal Kombat has the same games list as last year's MK30th. So, not sure where they might go with that. But I do think that either later on this year or early next year, we are going to see another Capcom Legacy from them in the deluxe form factor. And I think they might go back to one of their earlier ones like this, or maybe even Champion Edition, and skin that as a deluxe. All right, those last two I put out first because I think they're probably the most obvious ones to get a deluxe. So now I'm going to get into a little bit of speculation and go from there. And of course, this is the recently re-released Star Wars. Now, here's the funny thing about this. Now, we started to hear rumors towards the end of the last year that, yes, they were going to re-release Star Wars. And there was a lot of speculation on, would it be exactly the same as the previous release? Would they do it in like an XL or Pro? Would it have Wi-Fi for online leaderboards? And it turned out it was basically the same machine from a couple of years ago with some minor cosmetic differences, with the art going all the way down into the riser, with the games list gone from the front, and a molded coin door with light up coin buttons, which I think is a really nice touch. Now, I just purchased this recently. I just set it up recently because I missed out on the first one, so I was very excited to get this, and I think it's great. I'm enjoying it. There will be a review to come. So, I mean, let's face it, if you've seen reviews of the original, you're not going to find too much different probably in my review, but, you know, it's coming from my perspective, having not had the original, so there's that. Having said that, you know, as soon as we started to find out more and more that it was basically a rehash re-release with a couple of, like I said, cosmetic differences, the rumor mill started up again. What about an XL or Pro? What about a Deluxe? So I'm going to say that there is a distinct possibility that this was not the only Star Wars cab we will see from them in the near future. That there is a good possibility that this could also get the Deluxe treatment. Now, it could also just jump right ahead to XL. I don't think Pro. I don't think I would want this in Pro necessarily, because I don't think there's much you can do to this to make it Pro. Let's face it, if you wanted to swap out the flight yoke and put in, say, a GRS flight yoke instead, you could pretty much turn this into a Pro just with that. There isn't much more to it than that. The GRS flight yoke is a great flight yoke. It's got some things over the standard one, although I think the standard one is certainly not bad. So I wouldn't want to see this necessarily in a Pro, but I think maybe in an XL, bigger form factor, 19-inch screen would be nice on this. But barring that, Deluxe is certainly a possibility. So we'll see what happens with that in the near future. But I'm going to throw this out there that there's still a distinct possibility we could get another version of Star Wars as a Deluxe. I'm wondering if at some point they're going to re-release some of their more successful cabs also in a Deluxe version. Now, the first one that came to mind was Tron. Tron has, again, such a great distinctive look to it. It was actually, I think, one of the taller ones for a standard one anyway. I think this would do fantastic as a Deluxe cab. Get rid of the riser. Put that molded coin door on the front because it's just so black. It needs something in that front. You know, heck, if they could find a way to incorporate the second screen above that, I know people have done a lot of mods on, that would, although that may push it more into like a Pro version, especially if they change out the flight stick and make it one that's less breaky. But, you know, having said that, I think to do this in a Deluxe version would be fantastic. I think doing Dragon's Lair in a Deluxe would be fantastic too. I think maybe re-releasing T2 in a Deluxe, same thing. Put that molded coin door on the front, because again, it's just too plain in the front. But I think there is a distinct possibility that they may, just like they did with Star Wars, maybe they will revisit some of their more popular cabs, or some of the ones that people have said stand out as some of their better ones, and give them the Deluxe treatment. But again, this is now, like I said, I'm getting more into speculation because I think with some of the first ones I talked about, they're a little more obvious. Kind of hedging my bets with those, that those are for sure going to come out. But if they were to re-release one of these more specialty cabs, like a Tron, like a Dragon's Lair, like a T2, which one would you like to see, and which one would you like to see them do up in that Deluxe version? You know, riserless with some of the extra amenities. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right, and before I wrap this up, I just want to mention one other thing that I think is a distinct possibility, and that is a surprise cab from them. Now, I do still think that we're going to see some other things later this year. We've seen pictures of Time Crisis. I do think that's going to get a little bit of a redesign on it, but it was riserless in the ones that we have, so it could be some form of a deluxe when it eventually does come out. But I'm thinking more along the lines of the legacy type cabs. Could they surprise us with a Konami? Could they surprise us with a Taito, kind of going back to the original Space Invaders one that they did? Bring that back in a deluxe version, but as a Taito Legacy instead, and throw a whole bunch of other games on there. You know, always a good possibility. For me, again, I've been singing the praise of a Konami Legacy for a while now. I would love to see one come out. I would love, if they're going to do it at this point, I would love to see it in a deluxe version. So fingers crossed that we get something that completely surprises us later this year. There's also a possibility that they could have some more of these specialty cabs again, like a Dragon's Lair or something like that, something we don't know about, but that they bring it out in deluxe. Now, I think we're going to get a combination throughout the year. I think we're going to get some in the deluxe form factor. I think we're going to get some like the Star Wars in the traditional 3/4 with riser. You know, my understanding about the Star Wars one was that was kind of in place and planned before they finalized the deluxes, which is why it wasn't, which is why I'm also, again, going back and thinking we might still get a deluxe from them now that they've got that form factor locked down. But, you know, I don't know yet. We're waiting to see more from them. Is everything coming out from them this year going to be in that deluxe form factor riserless, or are we going to continue to get a combination? Now, I know that they've said that they do want to continue to support the 3/4 riser cabinets because of retailers like Walmart that like to sell them with no lip marquee, with no riser, at a lower price point. So I think we will see those. But the question is, do they basically just take the deluxe ones and chop off the bottom part of it and turn that into the no riser version, and only release it as either A, deluxe, or B, the Walmart special no riser version? I don't know. Again, we're still waiting to see what else Arcade1up has up their sleeve for this year. But I just, like I said, with the thought that the deluxes that they've already announced going to be coming out hopefully soon, I was starting to wonder what else might we see from them this year, and I just wanted to throw my thoughts out there. Let me know your opinion. What do you think? Do you think I'm right on some of these that we're going to get? Do you think, you know, I'm way off on it? Are there particular ones that you would like to see, either ones that they have released in the past or something new from them that we haven't seen before that you would like to see get this deluxe version? That's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, leave this one a thumbs up, and again, leave me your comments below. Let me know your thoughts, all right? I will see you on the next one. Have a great day.